Sunki has started recording already. So, I am reading out to you what has been said in the previous paragraph. Okay. Yamuna is saying in the previous paragraph, we have seen the enormous difficulty of transforming the vital in the lower planes. Not when you are in the spiritual planes, but in the lower planes, your body, mind, light, it is very difficult to change your vital habits. You may try as much as you want, you will never succeed fully. You may suppress, but you will not be able to completely change it. That's it, he's saying. So, how to achieve the purification of this life force, the vital? It is not by an external aid working upon the vital that purification can be effectuated. It is from within the life force itself that the transformation is possible. In other words, the life, the prana, the vital being, from inside itself, it has the capacity to become pure. That's what he's saying. And how to do that? The change proposed is from a troubled and ignorant life force, prana, to a luminous and harmonious movement of nature. How to do this? We have to see. This central inner revolution can be done in three conditions. All the three working together in tandem can make the change possible. Singly, none can succeed. And what are these three? We will tell you one by one. First is abolition of desire. Second is bringing the psychic forward. And the third is getting rid of the ego. If these three things are done together, then it is possible to change the vital. But they have to work together in the physical world. So, singly none can succeed. Number one, the first condition is the abolition of desire, which produces pain and baffled effort. This tormented desire soul must be transformed into a calm, strong, true vital, full of pure energy, not polluted energy because of desires. The second condition is the emergence of the psychic being that must govern mind and vital, straighten out their perversions and crookednesses. The psychic can do that. It can remove all the dirt and it will direct you towards the right way of living. Okay, that's the psychic thing. But you may not get knowledge. So, even the mind, mostly, even the mind, not only the vital, but even the mind becomes an eager supporter, an abettor, an accomplice of the vital's small, narrow desires and perverted movements. The mind always justifies what one has done. That's what he's saying. He becomes a supporter and an abettor. Abettor is someone who helps you in crime. So, Shendra is saying the vital is impure, it is criminal from the spiritual point of view. You may not be doing anything legally wrong, but spiritually you are doing everything wrong. So, you are a criminal in that sense. Okay? An abettor, one who abets a criminal, is one who participates and helps him. That's it. So, the mind is always helping the vital to continue with its impure habits. That's what he said. Mind and life must become merely obedient instruments of the psychic and not masters. The vital can be a very good servant, but not a good master. When the vital takes over and says, yeah, we'll do this, it will always take you into the wrong channels. Whereas, if it obeys the psychic being, it becomes a very good servant. The psychic is the master and the vital is a good servant. It obeys the psychic, then it is good. Otherwise, it is not. Then we come to the third. The third and last condition is the abolition of the ego, which is a cause of separation from all. I feel myself to be separate from everybody else. This has to disappear, resulting in a sharp I-ness and one minus. This I-ness and minus must go away. So if these three things are done, then the vital can become pure. What are the three things? Removal of desire, bringing the psychic being forward, and getting rid of the ego. He is getting rid of the ego. We can start even at this level. We see so many egoistic movements in oneself. So you must first become aware of them and then slowly, slowly try to change them. Okay? So the last sentence of the summary is the true individual, vast, free, cosmic, must replace the small, separate, narrow ego. So this is what Sindhu is saying in the previous para. Now we will start reading the new para that we have to read today. There is nothing that is not ancient and familiar in the first of these three transforming inner movements. So, Pallavi, it's your Tuesday is your monopoly. So, we started the class because of Pallavi only on Tuesday. So, you start reading Pallavi. There is nothing that is not ancient.
Yes, Raman. There is nothing that is not ancient and familiar in the first of these three transforming inner movements, for it has always been one of the principal objects of spiritual discipline. It has been best formulated in the already expressed doctrine of the Gita, by which a complete renouncement of desire for the fruits as the motive of action, a complete annulment of desire itself, the complete achievement of a perfect equality are put forward as the normal status of a spiritual being. A perfect spiritual equality is the one true infallible sign of the cessation of desire. To be equal soul to all things, unmoved by joy and sorrow, the pleasant and the unpleasant, success or failure, to look with an equal eye on high and low, friend and enemy, the virtuous and the sinner, to see in all beings the manifold manifestation of the One, and in all things the multitudinous play or the slow massed evolution of the embodied spirit. It is not a mental quiet, aloofness, indifference, not an inert vital quiescence, not a passivity of the physical consciousness consenting to no movement or to any movement that is the condition aimed at. Though these things are sometimes mistaken for this spiritual condition, but a wide, comprehensive, unmoved universality such as that of the witness spirit behind nature. For all here seems to be a mobile, half ordered, half confused organization of forces, but behind them one can feel a supporting peace, silence, wideness, not inert but calm, not impotent but potentially omnipotent, with a concentrated, stable, immobile energy in it capable of bearing all the motions of the universe. This presence behind is equal soul to all things. The energy it holds in it can be unloosed for any action, but no action will be chosen by any desire in the witness spirit. A truth acts which is beyond and greater than the action itself or its apparent forms and impulses, beyond and greater than mind or life force or body, although it may take for the immediate purpose a mental, a vital, or a physical appearance. It is when there is this death of desire and this calm, equal wideness in the consciousness everywhere that the true vital being within us comes out from the veil and reveals its own calm, intense, and potent presence. For such is the true nature of the vital being, Pranamaya Purusha. It is a projection of the divine Purusha into life, tranquil, strong, luminous, many energied, obedient to the divine will, egoless, yet, or rather, therefore, capable of all action, achievement, highest or largest enterprise. The true life force too reveals itself as no longer this troubled, harassed, divided, striving surface energy, but a great and radiant divine power, full of peace and strength and bliss, a wide-winged angel of life with its wings of might enfolding the universe.
Long para and beautiful para, but he's telling you what the free soul is, who is egoless, desireless. Okay? So it's very interesting. So what we'll do, and first we will summarize the thing, okay, and then we will look at all the details. Because sometimes the details are very interesting. Okay? So, Yeah. Yeah, got it. But why is it not showing anything? Okay, I'm not getting it there. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, I've got it. So, what he's saying in this paragraph, let me reassure it. The three conditions, just one second. Yeah. The three conditions referred to above are not new. They have always been there for yoga from ancient times. It is there in the Upanishads, it is there also in the Gita, very clearly given. And Gita means 2000, 3000 years away. Okay? They have always been there for yoga from ancient times. They are the essential conditions for any spiritual life. Spiritual life. And what are they? The three, remind you, desire has to be completely eliminated, psychic being has to come forward, and the ego has to be abolished. You don't do anything for yourself, you do everything for the divine. They are the essential conditions for any spiritual life. They have, of course, been expressed best in the Gita. Number one, renounce the desire for the fruit of works. Do the work needed, but without aiming at an egoistic desire for the successful completion of your effort. You have to have a motive, but the motive must not be over-eager in the beginning. Unless you have a motive, your work will not be concentrated and nice. So, in the beginning you have. Ultimately, you are doing it for the divine and not for yourself. So that ego also disappears and becomes a calm. The work needed, do the work needed. Sorry, I'm reading from the first condition. Renounce the desire for the fruit of the works. Do the work needed, but without aiming at an egoistic desire for the successful completion of your effort. Next, eliminate desire in all its variations. Okay, it can come in so many subtle ways. We have discussed that many times. Altruism, philanthropy, humanitarianism. You feel that you are doing for somebody else and not for yourself. So there is no ego, but that's not true because you derive egoistic satisfaction from there. So that's very subtle. We have discussed that several times. Second, attain to a complete equality, samatha, which will be the sign of the abolition of desire. Learn to see all and everything with an equal eye, an impartial gaze, pleasant, unpleasant, so success and failure, high and low, friend or enemy. Look on all things with an undisturbed, calm consciousness. Try to see the one, the divine presence in all things and creatures. The spiritual equality, unruffled and calm, is not a mental quietness, not an aloofness, not an indifference, but merely an absence, not merely an absence of vital desires and activities, nor is it a physical inaction. These are all negative things. The absence of desire is not necessarily a spiritual condition. These things are often mistaken for the real spiritual active part, passivity. Active passivity, not negative. Active means you are constantly, you are not acting, but you are ready for action. Okay, it's not a negative state, it's a positive state. It is the eternal omnipresent presence of peace behind all forms and creatures, behind all activities of seeming disorder. The world seems to be full of disorder, but actually it is only seeming. Behind the disorder, there is perfect uh, rationality and reason for everything. Seeming disorder and confused action. There is a supporting peace, vast, silent, full of static power behind the apparent confusion. Then he's saying, itself immutable, it bears and supports all the movement and mutability in the universe. There is no choice in the silent witness. Choice disappears. You just watch carefully. You don't decide, I will do this or I will not do that. There is no choice in the silent witness. All is decided by the supreme will, supreme divine will, though it may express itself through the body, life, mind, and in the lower planes. The true being, the true individuality can emerge into the outer surface being only when desire is abolished and an unshakable equality is established in the outer nature. This you have to understand. Even when you are in the spiritual world, your consciousness is up there, but in the body-mind life, there will be desire and all these old habits will continue. But Shri is saying that this true being can come into the outer nature, into your body-mind life, only when desire is completely gone. Okay? Then it is possible to act also in the right way. The outer desire soul is then replaced by the true vital being. The outer desire soul is your vital being. But there are two vital beings. One is a higher vital and one is a lower vital. The lower vital is full of wrong movements and the higher vital is still impure energy, but there is some idealism, some sympathy, some amount of love, all that is there also in the higher vital. The troubled, harassed outer nature of body-mind life is then removed and a calm, unshakable peace and power takes its place. If you remove all these three things, remove desire, bring the psychic forward and get the ego to vanish. Okay, so this is what he's saying. Not easy at all, obviously. Okay, so now we read each sentence carefully because there may be some interesting things we will see there. And also the idea is to understand Sri Aurobindo language, because once you understand Sri Aurobindo language, things become very easy. Now, I am reading each sentence. There is nothing that is not ancient and familiar in the first of these three transforming inner movements. Okay? Abolition of desire, bringing the psyche forward, and letting the ego disappear. These three things are not new. They are there right from the beginning. For it has always been one of the principal objects of spiritual discipline. It has been best formulated in the already expressed doctrine of the Gita, by which a complete renouncement of desire. Note the word renouncement. Okay, it's also here. You can use the word renouncement. You can also use the word renunciation. Okay, renunciation of desire for the fruits as a motive of action. All our actions, we want success. We want the fruit. We want the result of our action. If we don't get the result, we are unhappy. It has been like that. By the complete renouncement of desire for the fruits as the motive of action, we have to give it up. A complete annulment of desire itself, the complete achievement of a perfect equality are put forward as the normal status of a spiritual being. A spiritual being is one who lives in the level 2, not in the level 1. Level 1 is identified with body-mind life. So, a perfect spiritual equality to one thing. You are not disturbed by anything at all. Neither pleasant nor unpleasant. That's it. You may feel that when something pleasant happens, you are happy, it's quite okay. It is not okay. Because if you are happy, subject to outer conditions, then you will also be unhappy when those things are not according to your satisfaction. A perfect spiritual equality is the one true and infallible sign of the cessation of desire. The moment you are absolutely calm and undisturbed, then you know that desire has vanished. You have no likes and dislikes. To be equal souled to all things, unmoved by joy and sorrow, note that, not unmoved only by sorrow, but even by joy, the pleasant and the unpleasant, success or failure, to look with an equal eye on high and low, friend and enemy, the virtuous and the sinner, to see all things, all beings, to see in all beings the manifold manifestation of the one, and in all things the multitudinous play or the slow mass evolution of the embodied spirit. Which is the embodied spirit? The spirit that has come down and entered the body-mind life. That means it's a psychic being. Okay? The embodied spirit is a psychic being. So now, what he's saying is very interesting. He's saying that whether enemy or friend, look calmly at both. It doesn't mean to say that you don't see the wrong movements. You see all the colors, you see all the, but you are not affected by it. But that doesn't mean to say that you will treat your enemy and your friend equally. In the physical world, there is differentiation that has to be done. Okay. One example which we always give and which is very illustrative is that the mother has 4 children or 5 children, and one of them is blind and one of them is lame. She loves all equally, perfectly equal. But her movements in the physical world will naturally be more attention to the blind and the lame. So this you have to remember. That doesn't mean to say that you treat friend and enemy in the same way. Okay, the high and the low, the pleasant and the you don't. You have to be very careful to distinguish. The consciousness within is undisturbed. That doesn't mean to say that you behave equally with everybody else. That's to be kept in mind. The virtuous and the sinner, because otherwise confusion can come. Even the one who is being a sinner, I will treat him in the same way as the virtuous man. You have not to be affected, but what has to be done in the physical world, you have to do. To see all beings, the manifold manifestation of the one, to see in all beings, the manifold manifestation. Don't note that. Manifold manifestation. It is the divine himself who has entered into the friend, and he has entered also into the enemy because it is a lower level. Okay, there are so many levels. Each human being, why only human being? You are going right down to the animal level also. Each one is progressing at a different pace, and that's why there is a manifestation. But the manifestation is not the same in everybody. It differs. That's why manifold manifestation, different manifestation. In the intelligent, the divine is entering intelligently, he will act. The one in the unintelligent, it's not that the divine is not there. Okay? The divine is there. He has subjected himself to the manifold manifestation. He is working according to the condition of each human being as at what level he is. I'll tell you one very interesting story, I think, which I told you earlier also. There was one girl here who was considered to be quite a dullard and a duffer. Okay. But one day she could see mother in her true light, and it's there in the agenda. And mother says, look, everybody thinks her to be a damn fool. But look at her, she is capable of seeing these subtle things. So how we misjudge things. So that is exactly what is being said with the equality. You have to see all equally. And we are seeing only the outer nature, and that's not the whole thing. So, it is not a mental quiet. Now the negative things which are often mistaken for equality, he is listing them. It is not a mental quiet, aloofness, indifference, not an inert vital quiescence. Okay? If you are indifferent to everything, that doesn't mean to say that there is no desire in you. It does not mean to say that. You may be mentally quiet, you may be also aloof from things, but that doesn't mean desire has vanished entirely. Not an inert vital quiescence. Even the vital can be relatively quiet, but that's not the equality. Not a passivity of the physical consciousness consenting to no movement or to any movement that is a condition aimed at. That's not what we want. Though these are things, one second, though these things are sometimes mistaken for the spiritual condition, but a wide, comprehensive, unmoved universality such as that of the witness spirit behind nature. In other words, the removal of desire is not a negative state, it's a positive state. Okay? So it's something that is ready for action. Laziness in the physical, okay, lethargy in the vital, and a quietness, unthinking quietness in the mind is not equality. That's what it's very clearly saying. But it's something positive. For all here seems to be a mobile, half-ordered, half-confused organization of forces. When you look at the world, you see so many forces and they seem to be all clashing. But behind them, one can feel a supporting peace, silence, quietness, not inert, but calm, not impotent, but potentially omnipotent, with a concentrated, stable, immobile energy in it. Okay, the energy may be immobile, but it is ready for action if commanded. Capable of bearing all the motions of the universe. This presence behind where? Behind the heart, okay, deep inside you, behind the solar plexus if you want, is equal soul to all things. The energy it holds in it can be unloosed for any action. There you are. You may not be acting, but if called upon to act, you will act without any desire, without any ego, without any rufflement without any disturbance in the vital. You will act. A truth acts which is beyond and greater than the action itself. When is this possible? When you go to the witness spirit, that means the spiritual level of the consciousness, level 2. That's possible. A truth acts which is beyond and greater than the action itself, or its apparent forms and impulses, beyond and greater than mind or life force or body. You are not in the body, mind, life anymore. Huh? You are outside. That's why beyond and greater than mind, life or body, although it may take for the immediate purpose a mental, vital and physical appearance. Okay. So that's exactly what he said, that when the psychic can influence the body, mind, life, then you may feel that it may act, it is possible for it to act in that way by entering the body, mind, life. For such is the, no, I missed a line. It is when there is this depth of desire, this calm, equal wideness in the consciousness everywhere, that the true vital being within us, comes out from the veil and reveals its own calm, intense and potent presence. For such is the true nature of the vital being, Pranamaya Purusha. He is also talking about Purusha. So note interestingly that there is a mental Purusha, there is a vital Purusha, there is even a physical Purusha. There is an entity which can be taken as representative of the body, representative of the vital, which is standing in the intraconscious. Okay, behind your body, mind, life, it is there. So the true life force too reveals itself as no longer this troubled, harassed, divided, striving surface energy, but a great and radiant divine power, full of peace and strength and bliss. So no, it's not only peace and strength, but also bliss, a wide-wayed angel of life with its wings of might enfolding the universe. So, beautiful But he is also saying bliss. But remember that in the beginning, when you go to this to the self, the Brahmic consciousness of level 2, you may not have in the beginning. Okay, you may not have the Ananda. It will come later. Power and Ananda may come later, but sometimes it can come even in the beginning. So that's it. Paragraph. We have 5 minutes, 6 minutes. We have a little more also. We can read the next paragraph. And yet this transformation. So, Pallavi read. So today, Tarika, you have the text with you? She may not be there. Okay. Then, Shilpa, also not there.
Rangada. Yes,
Yes.
Rangada, I don't, Rangada, I am there, but I don't have the text. I am in
Okay.
Munnar actually.
Shilpa, you have the text?
Yes, yes, I have.
Read the para. And yet this
Okay.
transformation.
And yet, this transformation into a large strength and equality is insufficient, for it is opens to us the instrumentation of a divine life. It does not provide its government and initiative. It is here that the presence of the released psychic being intervenes. It does not give the supreme government and direction, for that is not its function, but it supplies during the transition from ignorance to a divine knowledge a progressive guidance for the inner and outer life and action. It indicates at each moment the method, the way, the step that will lead to that fulfilled spiritual condition in which a supreme dynamic initiative will be always there directing the activities of a divinized light force. The light it shades illuminates the other parts of the nature which, for want of any better guidance than their own confused and groping powers, have been wandering in the rounds of the ignorance. It gives to mind the intrinsic feeling of the thoughts and perception, to life the infallible sense of the movements that are misled or misleading and those that are well inspired. Something like a quiet oracle from within discloses the cause of our stumblings, warns in time against their repetition, extracts from experience and intuition the law, not rigid but plastic, of a just direction for our acts, a right step, an accurate impulse. A will is created that becomes more in consonance with evolving truth rather than with the circling and dilatory mazes of a seeking error. A determined orientation towards the greater light to be a soul instinct, a psychic tact, an insight into the true substance, motion and intention of things, coming always nearer and nearer to a spiritual vision, to a knowledge by inner contact, inner sight, and even identity begin to replace the superficial keenness of mental judgment and the eager graspings of the life forces. The works of light right themselves escape from confusion, substitute for the artificial or legal order imposed by the intellect, and for the arbitrary rule of desire, the guidance of the soul's inner insight, enter into the profound path of the spirit. Above all, the psychic being imposes on life the law of the sacrifice of all its works as an offering to the divine and eternal. Life becomes a call to that which is beyond life. Its every smallest act enlarges with the sense of the infinite.
It's a big para, and he's describing the action of the psychic being when it comes forward. But we don't have, I think, enough time to go through the whole para. So what I'll do, I'll just give the summary, okay, and then next time we can reread this, because there are quite a few things to be seen. What he means by the psychic being's emergence. Okay, so what he's saying in the para. This silent witness self. These are spiritual planes, not the psychic being. These are spiritual planes where you are in a Brahmic consciousness. You are absolutely calm, quiet, not affected by anything in the physical world. Neither your mind, your thoughts are not there, the thoughts are going on in the body-mind life, but you are not affected by them. They are going on mechanically. The emotions are there also, and even the body is acting, but you are not acting. Your consciousness is up there, watching this body-mind life as though it is somebody else. This silent witness self at level 2 of the spiritual planes is not enough for the integral yoga. It may be enough for others, but not for the integral yoga. This static silent self makes available to the sadhak the instrumentation, the possibility of going farther in the ascending spiritual journey. But there still remains the actual effective use of the instrumentation for governance and mastery of the lower nature. So when you go there, now you have the possibility of going even higher up. Okay, that's what Swami is saying. What are the instruments that are now available at level 2, which were not at level 1? He is answering. They are peace, calm, silence, detachment. These constitute a vast field ready to be plowed, planted and harvested with the yield of mastery, with power and bliss. All this stage, at this stage of the emergence of the psychic being, becomes crucial with its innate capacity to purify, lead correctly along the right path. The psychic being guides and directs the sadhak infallibly, though it may not control and master the lower nature. There you are, it gives you the guidance. Okay? Because that is not its role. It may not tell you what to do and what not to do, but it purifies the being and gives you indications of what is right and what is wrong. Okay? The lower nature, revolving endlessly in its own ignorance, can now be guided to exit the level 1 of the ignorance and darkness. When the psychic being comes forward, the possibility of rising out of body-mind life is there. But sometimes, as in Sri Aurobindo case, the self came first, and then the psychic being also came later on. Because if you remember his experience in Baroda, he had the experience of the self, but there was no emotion there at all. But when he was in jail, much later on in Calcutta, he was seeing Sri Krishna everywhere, and that time the emotion came tremendously into him. He is seeing Sri Krishna everywhere, in the tree, in the bars of the prison, okay, even the bars, the iron bars. He is seeing Sri Krishna everywhere. So how can that not give you emotion? So that's a psychic emergence. It may come later. But according to Sri Aurobindo, it is safer to have the psychic being first and then rise to the higher level. But in his own case, it was slightly different. He himself says that. Because there was no emotion at all in Baroda. Okay. Later on it came, but not in the beginning. The psychic being has determined orientation, the soul instinct, the psychic tact, and insight into true substance, approach to spiritual vision, knowledge by inner contact, even identification. So these are the characteristics of the psychic being. When the psychic being comes forward, what does it do? It gives you determined orientation. Now, it's not towards physical things anymore, but it is towards the divine. Orientation. Your whole being is oriented to the divine. It also has a soul instinct. Instinctively, you will do the right thing. You will not do the wrong thing. Psychic tact. Okay? It has a tact. It knows exactly the subtleties it can understand and make you do. Insight into true substance. You will see the truth in many things. The approach to spiritual vision, that also can give you, but it's an approach. Knowledge by inner contact, even identification. When this happens, the lower vital gets reoriented, gets rid of confusion, replaces artificial mental constructed rules by soul's inner insight. But the psychic being's most profound contribution is the sense of sacrifice. You do everything for the divine, not for yourself. sense of sacrifice, surrender, offering, consecration. The lower life yearns for the higher when the psyche comes forward. Every smallest act becomes a means of climbing out of the finite into the infinite. This is what you see. Okay? And we have lost our time. It's almost 8:40. So we will redo this para because it's a very, very important para. The emergence of the psychic. Srila gives a tremendous amount of importance to the psychic. Okay? So we will start reread and get this transformation. Suki has to note down page 178 and redo and get this transformation.
Yes, I'll make a note.
Okay, everybody, have a nice Tuesday. Okay.
Thanks,
Merci
Ranganath.
beaucoup.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Au revoir.
Thank you, Rangana.
Au revoir.